Quick video here. If you're a CEO or a founder and you're thinking of hiring a fancy PR agency at anywhere from 5 to 10K a month, what you can do instead is about to be shown in this video for your podcast. I believe every CEO, every founder should have a podcast in 2025. And I'm going to tell you a couple of steps of how you can handle it yourself or handle it in a better way, at least. So, let's start with PR and my sort of disdain for PR, generally speaking. PR, in my opinion, most of it, right? Like, there's a couple of people that I know personally that do it well, but it's fakery. So it's like, hey, I'll get you on this cover, I'll get you on this website just for authority, right? And then it's the transfer of money. So it's not really someone genuinely pitching you as great, it's someone that accepted money to pitch you and put you front page. It's the same philosophy or anti-philosophy that I have with podcasts that charge 150, 300, $1,000 to get you on as a guest. That's disingenuous and that leads to unscalability, right? So I adhere very much to the extreme philosophy that one day AI will know pretty much everything about you and what you did, and will expose that you paid this person to get there, and yeah, all of that will be known, you know. So why not start with honesty right now? That will scale pretty much forever in the next couple of decades. That's a bit of an extreme and dystopian or utopian example for many, but just the fact of paying for PR, I think it just makes you mediocre. You know, there's way better ways to get famous and powerful and rich than paying people to put you on a pedestal. One of them is just by being the best and being the greatest. A podcast is a great way to do that. A podcast, you don't need a fancy PR agency to tell you about the title of the podcast, the tech tools. I cover most of that in my newsletter. Just check my content, and that was a unshamed plug to my content. But all you need to do is start with that question: what do I like doing? What am I good at? You know, like the ikigai stuff. What are people ready to buy, and what do people want? So that's like a four-way Venn diagram circle. So there you have a podcast. You put some imagery that you can build via ChatGPT, simple logo, or on Canva, which is a no-code Photoshop. And there you go. You have a podcast. You can use apps such as Buzzsprout to launch your podcast. So I'm aware that I'm suggesting a couple of tools here, but yeah, GPT, you can ask it pretty much anything. You can ask it to return images and so forth. Canva. Canva, I probably have it open somewhere, but Canva is pretty much known at this point. You can create easily designs here. And then once you have a concept for your podcast, I would suggest that you start your own podcast, inviting top people to it, such as CEOs, right? So you probably have LinkedIn as a founder or a CEO. I could just invite this guy here, Eric Nowalowski, which is a top guy in cold email, to my actual podcast and to chat about cold email, AI, how he grows his business, how he likes CrossFit and so forth. All I need to do is click on his profile and feed it to ChatGPT here. 10 questions for Eric. That is for you starting your podcast, which is way more genuine, right? You interview people, you come in as less egotistic, plus you grow your brain. That's the way to get great at things and get number one in your industry, is by absorbing what your competition has to say and do it better. Copy, paste, improve philosophy. If we're gonna talk about getting you on podcasts, right, which is what a PR agency would do for you at anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 a piece. If you get great, if you get number one at what you do, you will get organically invited by Joe Rogan, like Friedman's and Sky Rosses of this world. That will just happen organically. That's the long way. That's a scalable way. And most of these top podcasts, they don't accept payments, right? Because they're all about content, which is why I'm not bullish on PR agency. PR, like it's fake publicity. That doesn't mean I don't believe in publicity. I invest in ads and all of that. That doesn't mean I don't invest in branding. You may need someone to brainstorm with about your branding. In my opinion, that someone could be an AI, could be ChatGPT. Um, and yeah, it doesn't make sense from a scalability perspective. Plus, you will have to pay a shit ton for that PR agency. I would very much recommend that you start yourself because you will get to know the basics, right? And how do entrepreneurs, CEOs, and founders get exploited by agencies by not knowing um, what they are doing and what the agency is doing. They keep on paying them while they're navigating in the unknown because they haven't done it before to a small extent. You need to move your ass. You cannot just outsource everything. You need to have some knowledge. You need to have some timelines. You need to be informed when you invest in something. And I believe that, yeah, PR agencies, most of them, they're just not a good fit. They're also super biased because they only work with a couple of podcasts. They also take a cut when they book you on some podcasts. So make sure to ask them the right questions, 10 questions to ask a PR agency. Because, like I said, some of them are good, but most of them are not, right? I think PR is something I was working in the 90s. Nowadays, it's mostly about being the best, offering the most value, like publishing content yourself, right? You don't need a PR agent to correct your post. You at first you still need to share your own thought leadership, and that's really how you will scale. Um, so yeah, if you're gonna ask them questions and hire PR agency, like maybe ask them like who they've done similar to you before, what are their timelines, what's the ROI behind their service. That's another thing. It's quite long to get an ROI behind a 10K, other than if you have a very solid offer that is well packaged. Some PR agency might help you with that, but most will not, right? Like you need to have a solid offer to monetize on all that publicity, quote unquote, that you will get. So instead, I would just start something myself and or look at software solutions that can do the same. There's a couple of podcasting platforms out there, such as Matchmaker, which are great for starter. There's SpawnMatch that's a little bit less good, in which you can pitch yourself and get for free on a bunch of podcasts, get some practice, because that's another point. If you haven't got on much podcasts before, you will suck, like your content will suck. And you don't want to pay 10,000 to suck, and get in front of millions with half-baked message, half-baked knowledge, right? So I would start small with free podcasts. I would also produce my own contents like this video that I'm making right now. Um, I still suck up to this date, like in terms of content and how I deliver knowledge. And I've been doing that for years, right? So practice, practice, practice. Now, another alternative to these podcasting platforms is agencies like mine. And yes, I'm going to pitch myself, but me, I do it for fee, for fixed fee. New clients, they get like a privilege fee of $100 per podcast, right? So you only pay me if I get you on pods. PR agencies is like, oh, pay us 5 to 10K a month, and yeah, we'll broadly give you these KPIs. Like me, I'm paid per podcast that I booked you on, right? I do it via cold email. I also have plans to give you monthly advice. Obviously these plans, they're monthly and they're way less expensive than these classic typical PR agencies, but it's a modern way to do it. I'm leveraging AIs to get you on podcasts and outreach to the right people. And most importantly, we can also start your own podcast and get you sponsors, get you AdSense money, get you leads through them. So in my opinion, that is the right way to do things. It should be you at the center of content that you're putting out there, and it should be amplified by AIs. It shouldn't be a human agency that will propel you forever, which is why my agency, after 3 months, we let you go and we take full equity and commission if you still want us to build automations and AIs in the picture, right? I don't believe I should be paid for doing nothing, right? Just for having found the opportunity to work with you. So the right way to do things nowadays, again, it's you at the nucleus and then AIs all around you. some humans to help you connect with these AIs and get into that AI reality, AI age. But yeah, mostly you at the center of things, which means that it's not the outsourcing mentality of before and paying these fancy agencies to give you non-scalable results, right? It's mostly about you being at the front and center and outsourcing and amplifying that message through AI systems, which is what I teach my client. So yeah, I have a Kindle book that you can start with. I'm a very strong believer in free stuff. I also have tons of content on my LinkedIn that you can check about AI outreach, how to get on podcasts, how to get guests on your podcast as well. Then I have a masterclass that is somewhat low ticket. And finally, if you want my time and work with me, and if you want top value and advice and AI automations, that's a bit more expensive. That is my ladder of value, right? And that's also how I think agencies should sell themselves, not like, hey, we're just fancy PR agencies. You're just going to pay us 10K a month and you're going to see what you're going to get, you know? In my opinion, that doesn't scale. So hope that you enjoyed that video. Hope that you can subscribe to my channel, get more of that free content. And like I said, don't hire a fancy PR agency. Instead, start yourself, start educating yourself, and then see where you can go with that.